Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media.
Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to Grimes Creek in Boise County, Idaho. I know this location quite well and live only a few hills over from our attack site. Grimes Creek flows from north to south, where it meets the Boise River flowing into the town of the same name. The elevation here is around 3,700 feet at the valley bottom, but jumps to about 7,000 feet on the peaks surrounding it. The climate here is a semi-arid climate, but you couldn't tell by the lush forests and understories on the northern exposure of the mountains. There are only around 11 inches of rainfall per year here, with hot, dry summers and cold, snowy winters. Pine trees include ponderosa, yellow, and white bark pines, and fir tree species include Douglas, subalpine, and grand fir trees. Spruce trees that are common here are the Engelmann spruce, with willows, shrubs, and grasslands dominating riparian zones around every body of water. Common animals here include mule and white-tailed deer, elk, moose, bighorn sheep, and the occasional antelope in the flat parts. Dominant predators here include bobcats, cougars, coyotes, wolves, and black bears. Grizzly bears don't officially exist here yet, but local hunters maintain they see them every once in a while. About 5 years ago, a sow with 2 cubs was spotted just north of here near Stanley Lake. And where there's a sow and cubs, there's got to be more. Along hillsides dotted with cabins, Grimes Creek isn't exactly what you would consider as prime black bear habitat. There's just too many people. With an abundance of open spaces and forests all around, you would think that bears would avoid areas frequented by people, but this case shows just how tolerant the bears can be of human presence. This area is a favorite for fishermen, ATVers, hikers, and explorers of all types. Every time you head outside here, you run into someone doing something. Cutting firewood, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, snowmobiling, the list is almost endless. Being close to Boise, a small city of about 235,000 people, makes it a convenient getaway for day trippers, so there's always a buzz of activity. On the evening of Sunday, May 28, 2017, 43-year-old Marvin Jennings was planning another bear hunting excursion. He'd spent the last 20 years living in Boise County, and his family relied on his hunting prowess for meat. Marvin had hunted his entire life while growing up in Boise, and was a subsistence hunter. A few years back, he'd killed a big black bear that fed his family for a year, supplemented by waterfowl and other big game Marvin was able to kill. As required to hunt bear over bait in Idaho, he'd purchased a couple of bait station tags, which are required to be left at the bait site for proof of hunter identity. Marvin's work as a general contractor honed his organizational skills, which he utilized to plan all of his hunts for months prior. John Pendergraft was a 66-year-old taxicab driver from Linwood, Washington, and Marvin's uncle. He and Marvin had been planning this bear hunt for the last year, and were excited that John might be able to bag his first black bear. Marvin had set up their bear bait about 80 yards from the ground blind from which they would hunt. At about 9 p.m., shooting light was fading, and the men were considering calling it a day when a big black bear ambled out of the bushes near the bait. They watched carefully, reading the bear's body language to glean any information about it that they could pull. Before consuming any bait at the station, the black bear turned toward the men and stared in their direction. It pinned its ears back and chuffed, letting them know it knew they were there and wasn't happy about it. Jon and Marvin knew they didn't have a lot of time to waste if they were going to get this big fella. Jon drew a bead on the bear's vitals and let one rip from his hunting rifle. His aim was true, as the bear collapsed and tumbled down the hill 25 yards or so. Marvin knew pursuing this bear in the dark was a no-go. He quickly strided to within 20 yards of where the bear lay and fired 2 shots with his pistol into its head. He had hoped to end any suffering the bear was enduring, but the bear was planning on inflicting a little suffering of its own. Turning to his uncle after firing the 2 shots, Marvin was briefly distracted from the bear. He may have been thinking how to get its carcass out before it was too dark. Either way, when he glanced back, that big old bear was already halfway to him. A brief panic overtook Jon with what he saw. He mistakenly ejected the clip from the rifle and scrambled to pick it up. In a motion so practiced and perfect, the black bear swiped Marvin's legs out from under him with one paw as it bit onto his left arm at the same time. Scrambling for his sidearm, Marvin screamed, "He's got me! He's got me!" Hearing his nephew screaming for help, Jon tried to step down the hill, but somehow tripped. Falling onto his face, he could do nothing to stop this bear from savaging Marvin. In the time it took Marvin to do a full clip dump of 15 shots from his pistol, the black bear had tattered his left arm, bitten several holes into his hip and lower back regions, before collapsing. After watching the bear fall, Jon made his way as quickly as possible to Marvin's side. He looked down at Marvin's arm, and it looked more like a massive bloody hamburger than a human arm. Marvin wasn't considering waiting for help, though. He hopped onto his quad and drove to the home of a volunteer firefighter friend of his. The man notified authorities of Marvin's bear attack, and a medical helicopter was dispatched from Boise to a nearby spot to pick him up. After the short flight over the mountain to St. Alphonsus Medical Center in downtown Boise, medical staff discovered that one of the black bear's teeth had broken loose during the attack. It had lodged in one of the main blood vessels of Marvin's arm, preventing him from bleeding out. During a critical surgery, a blood vessel was harvested from Marvin's leg and relocated to his shoulder. This restored and maintained blood flow to his hand. Significant nerve damage limited some of the function of his hand, but it still worked, for now. During his 5-day stay in the hospital, Marvin received a letter from someone indicating they wished that bear had killed him, only adding to his misery. Marvin's wife, Jamie, said she reads to her husband to help him sleep now. He still has nightmares of the bear attack. He's most tortured by the memory of the look in the bear's eyes when it had a hold of his arm. Marvin blames himself for the bear attack, stating the only real regret he had about it was not having a bigger sidearm. As for the bear, analysis of it by game wardens showed considerable wear on its teeth, leading them to believe the bear was very old, but was otherwise healthy. Jon kept the bear's hide and head. He had a taxidermist create a bear rug and encouraged Marvin to stomp on it to relieve some anger. The hunters did utilize the bear's carcass for meat. Because the bear was a very old male, most of its meat was turned into pepperoni and summer sausage, as it wouldn't be fit for steaks or other cuts. Idaho has an estimated population of 30,000 black bears, based on research from the Idaho Fish and Game. Each year, the state issues 30,000 black bear hunting tags, but only 2,000 to 2,800 black bears are harvested. This means that more than 90% of hunters who purchase a black bear tag in Idaho will not end up harvesting a bear. Bait hunters make up 35 to 48% of black bear hunters in Idaho. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Did the bear play dead to draw the hunters closer for an attack? Do you think it was wise for the hunters to shoot the bear after it glanced and chuffed at them? Would Marvin have been killed if he didn't have his sidearm? Would you want to look into the intense, angry eyes of a black bear with your arm in its jaws? I don't even want to see it in my nightmares. I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.